The video today is based on a perennial debate around IQ, and that in the online arena we have this discussion, as I said before, interminable and inveterate, that is based on: is IQ functionally a measurable and useful tool? Can we look at IQ, things like this, and say, yes, this person will turn out like this, and then we can make assumptions about predictable effects? And on the other hand, you have an army of people who loathe psychologists, the theory and usage of IQ in any way, and that there's loads of confounding factors as to why they don't think that it's a useful tool, and also there's a lot of things wrong with the assumptions based upon it. And these are these two schools of thought around IQ at the moment, where one side says it's not a useful tool, the other side says it's very, very useful, and then we try and meet in the middle. But I think we can subvert both of these with a position, and I'll go through first what the crux of each argument is, and then exactly why we think the differences will be. Now, IQ, for if those of you who don't know, is just a study of different subtests around your performance mentally on certain puzzles and inference and techniques like that. Vocabulary as well. So it's to say, like, can we get a general approximation of how well you'll perform mentally, intellectually? And if we can, then we can grade it and we can put it on a scale. And there's a lot of statistical analysis that goes into this, and understanding what a bell curve, a Gaussian distribution looks like, and all the elements to why data needs to be a certain way with certain controls around variables and errors, and that there needs to be certain understandings of how statistical tools will control and or influence results. And this is where you get the debate, because some statisticians, so there's almost no psychologists in this debate. Psychologists will continue to use IQ because it's just the one that they feel is the most reflective of the need. But the statisticians and the mathematicians will take umbrage at the usage of IQ, because they feel as if data doesn't represent population size data, that is, represent people in that way. And that's where you get this big map of all these countries, smart countries, dumb countries, and then we go, okay, why are they smart? Why are they dumb? What can we expect? And on one side you have, it's not possible to call these people dumb. There's just different factors that go into it around nutrition, Flynn effect, certain biases around how tests are conducted, and the quality and quantity of data especially. And then on the other hand, you have people who advocate certain controls, contextualize the debate in terms of what statistics are relevant and why we should consider some and not others. And then overall, the need or the reflection of IQ as a real measurement is still the importance, that we can predict things from it. And in this goes a lot of statistical understandings. If you're not big up on statistics and you haven't done your school duties, then you'll probably miss some of this stuff around how to control for certain factors and why good and bad data sets exist in different ways. And I've just shown you here all the different types of validities that there are in statistics. So you are in a bit of a quagmire here around the special understanding of what statistics does when you start to trying to interpret data, and what extrapolation or interpolation are, and why they are problematic sometimes. But in general, I think that there is a fairly easy way to address a lot of these issues. And all we're seeing here is two sides trying to fight and be right. They don't actually necessarily care about IQ. They care that their interpretation of something is right. So it's to say they like to be the forerunner or the torchbearer of truth in their way, and to say, like, my method of understanding is better than your method, so I win, rather than, and IQ is just basically providing the battlefield, and so that they can fight it out over this context is almost immaterial to the actual subject here, which is IQ, which we get back to. And I think there's an easy way to establish this as a useful condition. It's to say, if I gave you the ability to pick a team to solve a problem, ceteris paribus, what would you look at picking in terms of attributes? And if I gave you IQ scores and that was it, and that was all the information you had to pick your team, would you pick high or low? Would you pick the 150 IQ person or the 90 IQ person? Not knowing anything else, not considering anything else, what would you do? And so that's, I think, the fairly basic. Everyone would know that you would pick the smart person irrespective of the rest of the game, because we're treating it as a known position. This is the only thing you know about someone. Would that person make the best teammate? That's obviously conditional on many other factors, and no one is in denial about that. But if we're talking very specifically around what attribute we can consider subjectively or objectively, who cares, the best, we would say the highest, and the high IQ wins in that case. So we can therefore admit that IQ is important to a degree, and we know that we would prefer high than low. And I think that should be at least the starting point here. Every society you see here, which is in blue, is better than the ones that are yellow and brown. Full stop, end of. There is no remigration of people from the blue ones to the yellow ones. In fact, there's only the opposite. This should tell you about the desirability of certain countries. And I think if you find that to be insulting from an IQ level, you don't understand how culture and IQ can be separated, but also intertwined inexorably in that way. And so I think then you can say, of course, there's other effects that go into IQ. Yes, maybe it's not all hereditable. And so you don't have this linear heritability to IQ. But let me just illustrate to you that who cares? Because functionally we know, and from a pragmatic sense, that if you have two smart parents and you have two dum-dums and they have a kid, guess who's more likely to be smart? And you go, yeah, but there's socioeconomic factors and there's all these things you have to go. Why? Let's just go with what we think, which is the intuition, which is the, trust me, I'm right. And I dreamt that I was right, and I know that I'm right. And who cares about your sources? Why do I need statistic to tell me who a dum-dum is and what they can and cannot do when reality paints us a vivid picture of this? The army has been doing IQ tests for a very long time and found dysfunction at a certain level. I think the IQ threshold is at 83, anything below, and it's impossible to actually teach them. They had death rates in Vietnam War 3 times higher than the average foot soldier. And then on the other end, if you're very, very smart in the army, it's not as likely that you'll be able to obey orders. So it's less for them of a good thing, because you don't want someone who's too smart. And the police in America even got in trouble for disallowing someone with a high IQ to participate in the police force, because it is a problem. It's one of those things when you're too questioning, too curious, then you do have an issue conforming to what they need. And so, very basically, this chart does represent a reality. And all these midwits, Taleb and Cremieux, they're all in the middle here, just arguing and debating over the statistical methodology. And let me tell you, who gives a flying fuck? Because the idea that I can't tell a dum-dum and a smart person is obviously nonsense. Everyone can. They know they can. And then to assign them tasks, yes, of course, someone who's smart will be able to perform a task better. That's the end. That's all I need to know. Now, there's a huge debate where they start to infer, or like at least imply, so they've inferred the information and tried to imply that they'll earn more money or they'll be more acceptable in certain ways socially or something like this. And this is not what anyone should think. It's not to say money is a determinant of success, because that's a very materialist way, and you'll probably find most people here have no concept of money outside of its material value. It's to say, why would a smart person want money necessarily? It's the questioning effect. It's dumb people can't earn it, but smart people may not want it. So the only people in the middle who are balancing this whole diagrammatic affair are people who are probably like, yeah, I'd like more money than less money, which is fair. But would you rather more money at the cost of something? And that's where the question bears out its truth. It's, would you sacrifice your friends and family and any other life and lived experiences for this? Because if you would, then that's just a personality factor. And that's where it cross-correlates IQ and personality to see some people are very good at earning money with a very low IQ. Look at drug dealers. Some people with a very high IQ earn no money, like physics professors. So, okay, what does that tell us? Barely anything. And I don't know why anyone would want to draw any factors. You look on any of these forums around IQ and it's, can I be a professor of physics if my IQ is 125? Who cares? If you're asking the question, probably not, because you're a dum-dum. And then you'll have guys like Christopher Langan know this. This is why this guy, the smartest man alive, can just say it. Because it's like, okay, who's gonna disagree? Then prove I'm not. Or at least come to an understanding that if you think I am and you like what I say, then it's intuitive. He seems like he's very smart, so that's fine. That's enough. You can just trust him. He made it up. Who cares? He's the smartest man alive. What are you going to do? How are you going to gainsay that? No one does. No one can. But I can tell you that the premise still holds true. It's that all these blue countries have nicer living styles and a much nicer cultural society than all these yellow and brown ones. And so if you don't believe in IQ, then you're just ignorant of the reality of the world, that smarter people make nicer places to live. They invent more things. They win more academic prizes. They do all of the things we consider intellectually tough. I don't necessarily think that that's the be all and end all. I don't think that that should be a determinant of whether someone has value. And this is where they get it lost. They start to attribute certain moral factors to IQ, and to say it's racist or it's this or it's that. It's not anything. It's, can this person solve a puzzle or problem faster than someone else, or can they solve it at all? And if they can or they can't, then you'll have your result as to who's smart and who's dumb. And dum-dums know they're dumb. Smart people know they're probably pretty smart. And then in the middle, everyone has this moral conjecture around whether it is a good thing or not a good thing, or we can do it at all. I'll leave you maybe with just a little bit here on what his verbatim said by at least Sasha here in one of his. He said, unlike height, no one knows what IQ is actually measuring. Sasha, you're a retard. That is the dumbest thing I've ever seen written on this subject. Everybody knows what IQ is. You ask a dumb person what an IQ measurement is, and you ask a smart person, they will instinctually, reflexively, viscerally tell you what it is. Don't write such tripe and cloud it and crouch it and couch it in all of these systematic learnings around statistical analysis and methodology and data problems. I don't care, and you're wrong for saying something so stupid. It's so embarrassing. And I think the last point maybe then is, if you feel as if IQ is so passionate to you, have an actual debate about it. I looked on YouTube and I couldn't find a single debate with Nassim Taleb with anyone else. It's just him grandstanding on his soapbox. And then on the other hand, you have nerds who won't show face. So someone out here, Chris Verlangen, will debate anybody and anything. Take a note out of his book. We are the smartest if we say we are, and we have the most impressive and dominant society because we're the smartest. And that's just the way you have to deal with reality.